There's a moment that happens almost every single day, and it lasts maybe 3 seconds. Nobody films it. Nobody claps for it. Half the time you don't even remember it happened an hour later. But that 3-second moment is quietly deciding who you're going to become. Not your degree, not your bank balance, not the people around you. That moment. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. And I'm going to give you a way to test yourself tonight and find out which side of it you usually land on. Let me give you a few examples first, because it's easier to spot something once you've seen it hiding in plain sight. It's 11:47 p.m. You've got an assignment due tomorrow morning, or maybe an exam you haven't touched in 3 days. Your phone is sitting face down next to your pillow, and it just buzzed once. Nobody's checking on you. Your parents are asleep. Your friends are asleep. The Wi-Fi is being slow tonight, which is somehow the most annoying part of the whole thing. You open your notebook. You look at page 1, and in that moment, before you've written a single word, something in your head already made a decision long before your hand picked up the pen. Or here's another one. You told your friend you'd go to the gym at 6 a.m. You set the alarm. It goes off. The room is cold. Nobody is standing there checking if you got up. There's no scoreboard, no camera. No one to disappoint except a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet. You could turn the alarm off and go back to sleep, and literally nobody on this earth would ever know. That's the part that gets me. Nobody would know. One more. You made a small mistake at home or in a group project, and it would be so easy to just quietly let someone else take the blame. Nobody's going to ask a follow-up question. The moment would just pass. It's such a small lie that it barely even feels like a decision. So here's the pattern in all 3 of these. A test, an alarm, a mistake. In every single one, there was no audience. No likes, no praise, no punishment, waiting either way. Just you alone for about 3 seconds. Making a choice that nobody else on the planet was ever going to see. Here's what's strange though. Ask 10 people what separates someone who eventually becomes really good at something from someone who stays average their whole life, and you'll get 10 different answers. Discipline, luck, smart parents, better opportunities, natural talent. All of that sounds reasonable, and all of that misses the actual moment I'm talking about. Because I've watched people with all the talent in the world stay exactly where they is, started for 10 years. And I've watched people with almost nothing, bad internet, a noisy house, 0 connections, end up somewhere completely different 5 years later. The difference wasn't visible from the outside. It happened in rooms with no witnesses. So what actually happens in that 3-second window? What is the thing that gets decided before anyone else even knows a decision was being made? I'm not going to tell you yet. Not because I'm trying to be dramatic about it, but because if I tell you right now, you'll nod, agree, and forget it in 10 minutes. The same way you've forgotten 100 other motivational lines before this one. I want you to sit with the question for a bit first. Keep watching, because in the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how this plays out differently for 2 types of people, and one of them is probably closer to you than you'd like to admit. Okay, so picture 2 people. Not special people, not geniuses, just 2 regular students. Same city, same kind of house, same average grades in 10th grade. Let's not even give them names, because honestly, you've met both of them already. You might even be one of them on different days. Person 1, when nobody's watching, does the smaller, harder thing, closes the extra tab. Actually reads the chapter instead of skimming it. Well, a video plays in the background. Gets up on the 5th alarm instead of turning it off. None of this looks impressive from the outside. There's no trophy for read chapter 4 properly. Person 2, when nobody's watching, does the easier thing almost every time. Not because they're lazy or bad, that's actually the part people get wrong. They're not bad people. They just don't think the small moment matters. Because no one's around to notice either way. So why would it matter? Here's the part that took me a long time to actually understand. It's not one big decision that separates these 2 people. It's the same tiny decision repeated for months without anyone keeping score. Person 1 isn't more talented. They've just quietly voted for a certain version of themselves a few hundred more times than person 2 has, and votes add up whether anyone's counting them or not. There's a reason this works the way it does. And it's actually simple once you hear it. Every time you choose the harder private thing, some part of your brain quietly updates a file that says this is the kind of person I am. And every time you choose the easier private thing, that same file gets updated too, just in the opposite direction. You're not just doing a task. You're voting on your own identity in a room with no cameras. And somehow, that's the vote that counts the most. Now here's a question for you. And I actually want you to think about this instead of just letting it play in the background. Think about last week specifically. Not this whole year, not in general, just the last 7 days. How many times did you pick the easier private option when nobody would have known either way? Be honest, because I'm not here and I can't hear your answer, which is kind of the whole point of this video. If the number is higher than you'd like, that's fine. That's not a life sentence, it's just data. Most people's number is higher than they'd like. The ones who end up somewhere different aren't the ones with a perfect record. They're the ones who noticed the pattern early and started paying attention to that specific 3-second window. I still haven't told you exactly what happens inside that window, or given you the test to check where you actually stand. That's coming next, and once you hear it, you're going to start noticing this moment everywhere in your own life, which honestly might be a little uncomfortable. But stick with me for 5 more minutes. All right, here it is. The 3-second moment is simply this. It's the gap between knowing what the harder, better choice is and actually starting to do it. When there is 0 chance of anyone finding out either way, that's it. That's the whole thing. Not the studying itself. Not the workout itself. The gap right before it, when it would be completely, perfectly safe to just not bother. Winners aren't the people who never feel like quitting in that gap. They feel it just as much as everyone else does. The difference is what they do in those 3 seconds when no one's checking. They've just practiced closing that gap so many times, in private, that it stopped. Feeling like a battle and started, feeling like something closer to a habit. So here's your test for tonight. Just one thing, nothing complicated. Pick one small task you've been avoiding, something nobody's asking you about, nobody's tracking. Nobody would notice if you skipped it again tonight like you have the last few nights. And when you feel that 3-second gap show up, that little window where quitting would be completely invisible, just start. Not finish, not perfect, just start the harder option instead of the easier one. Once, tonight, with nobody watching, that's the whole test. It's small on purpose, because the moment isn't about doing something huge. It's about noticing that gap exists at all and choosing, just once tonight, on purpose. Do it again tomorrow, and the vote count starts changing. Do it enough times, and one day you'll look back and realize you became someone different. Not because of one big moment everyone saw, but because of a few hundred small ones nobody did. Nobody's watching right now either. That's exactly the point.